Hello again, everybody. This is Darick coming at you again with another video. Today we have a know-it-all video, but this is a little different than my normal know-it-all videos. This is a video on how to paint 28mm American War of Independence pewter figures for Wargaming. Now, the game that I have them, that I'm planning on using them with, is British Grenadier. British Grenadier is an awesome American War of Independence miniature war game. That's the one I play. I'm waiting for my second edition to come in. As soon as it gets here, I'll be drooling over it. Okay, but anyway, I have some figures that I'm going to be painting. I'm going to be painting the 20th foot. It's a British regiment, but this can be applied to any painting, any figures that you've got. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your figures and you're going to mount them on some popsicle sticks. Okay, you're going to take your, like a popsicle stick. I get like these hobby popsicle sticks at Hobby Lobby or wherever, and you basically take a drop of Elmer's glue, pop, 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 and I don't put more than 4 per popsicle stick. I mean, some guys do 1 per, some guys, you know, put 2 per, whatever. I do 4 per. I feel comfortable with 4. That's me. Guess what? The British regiments are based 4 per base. So what I usually do is set them out on the base as kind of the way I want to deploy them, and then I mount them on a popsicle stick based on the number of figures that are on that unit or whatever. But when it comes to units that have like 6 on a base or whatever, that system goes out the window. But okay, either way, I always do 4 on a base. And 1 drop of Elmer's, and I put the figure on there, and then later on down the line, when I'm done, I can just pop them off the popsicle stick. It's no problem. Now I take these popsicle sticks and I prime them black. Okay, this is an example of a pre-primed. The 20th is downstairs drying. Okay, but I have an example of a primed base, okay, or popsicle stick. I use the Krylon Fusion paint. This is the ultra flat camouflage Krylon Fusion paint. I've noticed that Fusion won't rub off, your paint won't flake. It's an awesome paint. It says it's great for plastics too, so if you do 1/72, awesome. If you do plastic modeling, get the Fusion paint. This is what I like to prime my stuff with. A lot of people say do 1 or 2 coats. I mean, you know, light coats and do multiple coats. Yeah, with that Fusion, I do 1 light coat, then when it dries, I go back into a second light coat, and I just look on the model and I look for any spots I might have missed. I tag that spot. That's all I need to do. All it is just a primed figure. Now once you get your figures primed and set out, what colors are you going to paint them? You don't know what colors you're going to paint them. Okay, this is where part of the painting of figures, for me, becomes enjoyable. This is the part where I got to do research. I figured out, okay, like it's the 20th foot. I figured that out, no problem. It's in the book. Okay, it's in the scenario book that I'm doing. I'm doing Freeman's Farm, and in Freeman's Farm, the 20th foot is there, and they have 12 figures. So I'm going to be doing 12 figures of Freeman's Farm. Okay, so what I do is I get out some books. This is my favorite. Okay, this is the American Revolutionary War Uniforms, okay, book. It gives both Continental Army, it also gives militia, it gives the English regiments, everything. So, you turn to the page with the English regiments, and it basically just gives you some, there's no way you could list every single uniform because they had so many different variations. But what it does do is there's a page right here where it shows, I'll hold it over my chin, it holds it with every regiment and what their facing colors are. Okay, what they mean by facing, for those of you that are painting, you probably already know this, but it's the collars, cuffs, things like that, that are the regimental colors. Okay, so these guys are the 20th, so they're going to have yellow facings. Awesome, easy. Okay, and remember, I always prime black. The reason why I prime black is I'm going to show you a technique today. This technique, okay, whew, there's a lot of different techniques out there. This technique is a backwards technique. Okay, I find that I've been painting the flesh first and painting out from the model, like the flesh, undershirts, outer coats, straps, rifle, right? That's the way I've been doing it. I've been coming out from the skin. Well, that's not the way I'm going to do it today. Today, I'm going to actually, I am going to paint the skin first, but then I'm going to paint inwards towards the skin, and leaving a very thin space between colors. So like, as an example, when I get to it, I'll show you, but like I'll paint their shoulder strap, right? It'll be like a white color. I'll go and I'll paint it white. Awesome. But now when I get to painting the jacket, I'll paint the jacket, but only up to I'll paint it real close to the white, but not touching it. Now what is that doing? It's putting a black line between the white strap and the coat. And what that does is it enhances the colors, and it brings out, it like simulates a shadow, but it also it enhances the color separation, just like a comic book, or just like I don't know, some artwork where you see the lines are drawn and you're filling in the blanks. Well, those lines you'll still see the lines, and those lines break up the colors. I hope that was, if you can understand that. Okay, so let me go get my figures that are drying downstairs, and let's start painting them. All right, this is my workbench. Now, what I'm going to, what I did was, while I had the break there, I went through and I wrote down all the different colors that I will need. Basically, I take some time to prepare. You know, what do they say? 90% preparation, 10% perspiration. Well, I went through and I prepared. I pulled the paints out that I'm going to be using for all the different colors that I could identify on the models and in the pictures. And we'll work from there. Okay, so I'm like made a list. Like black is going to be on the gaiters and the boots and the hat, you know, and then the white will be on the straps and the pants and the, you know, and the vest, you know, and then the yellow face, you know, exactly just like that. And then I wrote it all down, and I wrote down what paints I'm actually going to be using, because I have different reds for different situations. Like I have this Nepal Crimson, which is kind of a darker red. I'm going to be using that on their jackets, and then I have this scarlet color, which I'm going to use on the sashes. Okay, I hope you help out. Now, all the paints that I've been using, except for maybe some of these paints, but normally I'll take a paint like a Vallejo paint, and I will mix it in my mixing, what do they call this, a palette, and with water, and I'll thin it out, and then I'll get it to the right consistency, and I'll paint with it. Okay, now step one is always flesh. Let's do some. I always have a folded paper towel over here. Clean off my stick, I can clean off my brush. I also have a cup of, can't see it, but I do have a cup of soapy water to clean my brushes. Now I'm going with a fairly large brush, because flesh is the first color and I'm not terribly concerned about it. Another technique that I'm using is that I'm touching something that's not moving, like with my hand. I'm touching the table so that it doesn't move. It keeps my subject steady. I'm also resting my hand on the table so that it keeps my hand steady. I'm not trying to paint this up in the air, because if I was painting this up in the air, they would both be shaking. And remember, I'm leaving a small area between the flesh and whatever he's holding. But when the cuff is yellow, and yellow almost is the same as flesh, I mean it's very similar palette color, you got to leave that black in there to give it a distinction of where the flesh stops and where the yellow starts. Now, when you're painting figures for an army, if you're painting a lot of figures, do not attempt to paint all of them at one time. Paint one unit at a time. You will not get overwhelmed, and when you finish a unit and you're getting ready to move on to the next unit, you'll have a feeling of accomplishment, like you've got a unit done, now you have another unit to go. I do recommend painting a whole unit at one sitting though. That way you don't get them half painted and then say, dang man, I got to go back and paint those figures. And then you put it off. And then you wind up never going back to them. You have to move the figures around to come at it from different angles. Do it. Alright, well you get the general idea. I'm just going against the flesh right there on these figures. And now let me finish the flesh on the other 8 figures, and then we'll move on to another color. Now when I set my figures down, I like to set them down in the order that I paint them, so that they'll also dry in that order. Usually when you paint about 12 figures, the first set of figures is dry by the time you finish a color on the back figure, on the last base. And another thing, when I get done painting, what I do is my final step is to actually do what's called a dip. And I dip it in a Minwax polyurethane resin. And what it does, it's colored actually. It's like a, what color do I use? It's like a wood grain color. And what that does is it gets down in all the pores and all the different cracks and crevices and really highlights the shadows. Okay, when I'm done with black, I'll be right back. And be sure to clean your brush between each color. And when you go to wipe it off, make sure that you do it a slight roll to it so that your bristles will always come to a point. Okay. I also used black to paint the barrels and the musket barrels and the bayonets, just to ensure that when I go to metallics pretty much only stick to black. So anytime you're going to paint something metallic, make sure you put it black down first. Okay, sticking with the outside first. White. I'm going to do white at this point. On these figures, it takes a little effort to identify where the straps are located. Now, if one strap, this is a good point, when one strap goes over another strap, I don't blend the white, I actually stop and show that little black seam. Anytime there's an edge, I let the shadow show. Okay, so when, I don't know if you can see that, hold on. I can't even see that. Okay, see that? Okay. Okay. I'll see the straps there. And you notice I'm painting the straps before I paint the jacket. But let's go on and continue with the white. I'm going to do the pants. Okay, it's even more important. Something I need to say because it just dawned on me. The pants and the vest are both white. So it's even more important at this point to make sure that there is a gap of black showing through to separate the two pieces, because it'll really enhance the model. It'll make it look like he's got pants on, and it'll make it look like he's got a vest on. Okay, so you got the pants and the vest, and there's a little black line between the vest and the coat. Okay, when I get done with the white, I'll be right back.